5 days into the inaugural patrol of Prince Eugen and Admiral Hipper, the first real test is at hand. HMS Nelson intercepts our pair of new cruisers as they seek to enter the open Atlantic. They're after the success of the raiding sister ships before them, Scharnhorst and Gneisenau, sinking 138,000 tons on their first patrol. But first, these two cruisers, along with their destroyer escort Hans Lodi, must escape the raining shells from Nelson and her escorts. To obscure the sprint away from the enemy force, Hans Lodi must circle back towards them and lay smoke in a very long and lazy zigzag. This opens her up to the attention of Nelson's escorts. Being the sole destroyer escort of Prince Eugen and Admiral Hipper, it is clear to the crew of Z-10 that it is their responsibility to ensure the smoke laid complicates the gunnery for Nelson so that her shipmates can escape the battle space. Thanks to the daring and bravery of Hans Lodi, all vessels in the task force escape unscathed. During the breakaway, radio interceptions reveal Nelson and an unknown escort suffered a collision at sea during the chase, causing moderate damage and flooding to the enemy destroyer. The success, however, is short-lived, as Nelson finds herself once more in another position to intercept. Despite the thick smoke obscuring the two cruisers, Admiral Hipper is struck by a shell causing moderate damage, and she angrily returns fire near max range before continuing to disengage from the enemy. Within 10 minutes, the task force, however, once again slips away from the Nelson and her escorts, but also into the bomb sites of RAF Wellington aircraft nearly 20 minutes later. It seems escape now into the open Atlantic is slipping further away. Admiral Hipper proves to be the unlucky ship of the task force, having repaired her damage from the Nelson, only to receive a direct bomb hit causing moderate damage once more. After the bombers depart, her crew rushes to stabilize the damage. Little do they know, in 2 days' time, fortune will reward them with a promising scouting report from their Arado 196 aircraft. It's unclear why the motor vessel Empire Eagle steamed directly towards Hans Lodi and Prinz Eugen. If she was sacrificed as a speed bump to the task force, her loss was in vain. The enemy convoy heading in the opposite direction is quickly engaged by the force a mere 4 minutes after her sinking. Starting with the motor vessel Biloxi engagement, Prinz Eugen heads north on the western edge of the convoy, while the destroyer Hans Lodi and Admiral Hipper cut along the southern edge, heading east before attempting to drive north and block the escaping enemy vessels. Here we see Prinz Eugen acting as the shepherd, driving the flock of allied merchants to the wolves that are Admiral Hipper and Hans Lodi. In an effort to quickly get to the southeastern edge of the battle area and cut north, Hans Lodi tries for a hasty torpedo attack against Biloxi. Due to the poor angle of the spread, only one torpedo hits the vessel, and at such a poor angle that it fails to detonate. The destroyer continues to charge ahead, and within 2 minutes of the failed torpedo attack, Biloxi succumbs to the combined shelling from Admiral Hipper and Hans Lodi. Mariners from nearby vessels look on in horror as they absorb German force now slicing through their formation. As Hans Lodi drives deeper into the convoy mash, she is finally met by a Royal Navy escort trawler, HMS Pine. Valiantly turning into the German onslaught, Pine can only bring one 76mm gun to bear against the destroyer. The five 5-inch guns Hans Lodi is outfitted with rapidly overwhelm HMS Pine, and she suffers catastrophic damage in short order. While HMS Pine was engaged with Hans Lodi, HMS Warwick started to come down from the convoy head to support. She was too late as she watched Pine detonate and sink thousands of yards in front of her. Her brave gun crews open fire on Admiral Hipper, and the cruiser returns in kind. Warwick can only hope to slow the German attackers and keep them at bay so that her merchant vessels can escape the battle area. Skirting northbound along the western edge of the convoy, Prinz Eugen is free to slowly parallel targets of opportunity and methodically take them out. The convoy is now doomed. With all the other escorts sunk, only merchants with deck guns can attempt to fight back now. Their gun crews are poorly trained, and the guns themselves are no match for the armor of the German cruisers now feasting on this battered convoy. In a short amount of time, Prince Eugen clears out the enemy merchant vessels in her sector of the convoy raid. The success does come with a price. While she suffers no meaningful damage from the engagements, her forward main gun mounts are now out of ammunition. Any future encounter with enemy battle formations could be deadly with this ammo state. The final remnants of the convoy were so desperate to get away that they became mired in a collision, slowing them down dramatically and opening them up for destruction by Hans Lotte's 5-inch guns. With both vessels sunk in rapid succession, Prince Eugen signals Admiral Hipper and Z-10 to fall back into formation. Her radio room becomes a beehive of activity as naval signals are sent back home to report 15 enemy vessels sunk for an estimated 108,000 tons. Over the next 30 hours, Hans Lotte, Prince Eugen, and Admiral Hipper will dodge enemy forces seeking to revenge the loss of convoy HX-42. The raiding force has now proven to be successfully battle-tested on their inaugural patrol. However, their low ammunition state dictates they must make it to La Rochelle uneventfully. As they safely pull into the repair facilities at La Rochelle, we get word Prince Eugen will take 15 days for refit, and Admiral Hipper, having suffered hits from HMS Nelson and a Wellington bomber, will be out for 23 days. The good news is our fleet will be reinforced by Scharnhorst and Gneisenau within 5 days. They will be put to work soon enough. And with that, I'd like to thank you for watching the second episode of our War on the Sea campaign. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below, and I'll get to them as soon as possible. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!